And we are live. Sorry, we're a little bit late. My phone, as usual, was having some technical difficulties. Imagine that.
Mm,
So today we are joined with the group Fight CPS, and that's my specialty. Anybody that's fighting these people, I'm on board with.
hmm
So without anything else, I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and we're gonna talk.
Yeah. All right. So I am the so-called CPS Punisher, and we are here to try to curb this thing and try to get towards a victory for us. We've lacked victories for quite some time, and it's about time we figure out how and why. Because they're stealing kids at we know they're stealing kids at a child a minute in this country. And if you were talking about people losing $1 a minute, I guarantee you they damn well would be listening to everything that you have to say. But you talk about a child a minute, and it's like people just keep on with their business until CPS comes to their house. And then it's a whole different game. And then they walk out. But you know what? I'm one of those people too. I didn't have any idea what CPS was. I didn't know what I didn't have a clue. I thought that they were the good old government of the USA and they're gonna come here and help these people that are, regardless, I was wrong. You know, because they are absolutely not anywhere near what they say they are. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They steal our kids and they make money from it, and that's it. And anybody wants to say that anything different, they're just bull-faced liars, because that's what it is.
Do
Um,
you work with any of your delegates or your lawmakers? What state are you in?
I'm in Maine. Let me tell
Okay,
you something. People don't understand this, and they don't believe me until they start seeing the evidence. Like this right here, this little quiet state of Maine, the vacation land, the way life should be, all that stuff. This place is a centrifuge. It's either this place is the centrifuge of all of this badness, or if it's this bad here, I can't imagine how bad it is in every other states that have actual populations. I mean, like we have like 3 cities in the whole state of Maine, and they're barely city wise. You know what I mean? Like, and they're separated, but yet somehow Maine ended up the first in the nation as abuse and neglect states. How does that happen? That makes no sense, right? Like we have less population, we have less anything, because I think the abuse rate in this country right now is like 9 kids per 1,000 or something like that. It's right around those numbers. And Maine's almost double that. It is double that. It's like 19.6 kids per 1,000 are being abused and neglected. And how do you get that when you have Chicago's, when you have LA's, when you have Boston's, when you have New York's? You know what I mean? That the cities populate more than the state of Maine. It just makes no sense to me. The only thing that makes sense is that they're giving away checks to everybody in this state because of their surpluses. And I'm a firm believer that these surpluses come from the children that they take, because, I mean, they got to hide the money somehow. And, I know a lot of these budgets are based on use it or lose it. And these budgets for DHS and all that stuff are based on the number of kids that they bring in, because they're federally matched, dollar for dollar, and things. People like, oh, they're matched dollar for dollar. Well, no kidding. But they still have to get that funding, and they get that funding from stealing kids. So people just don't listen. They don't pay attention. But as soon as they get their kids taken, they come running like it's the only case that's ever happened, and that's where we're at. We're trying to, we reach out to the lawmakers all the time. I mean, how many lawmakers have you reached out to? I might as well just email a toilet, because, you very rarely get a response, maybe per every 500, emails or phone calls, or even going to their offices that you might get a response. And that's usually like, don't come back here, or, I'm going to block your email now from you trying to get in touch with us. They don't want to hear it. None of them want to hear it. And everybody's same excuse is, we can't do anything for you. Sorry, we're just this. Well, tell me this. How is the person that creates the law, supposed to manage the law, supposed to do all these things with the law, not able to do a damn thing for you when they're breaking the law? They're breaking the same law that you guys are creating, and you guys tell me that you can't do anything about it? You're full of shit.
Yeah, they are.
Right. So, and people need to start. I don't know if it's I mean, how do you even trust an election anymore with all the crap that goes on there? Because, I'd like to say, get out there and vote, guys, because we're going to make a difference. But, damn well, they're just going to curb that too. I mean, you got to keep America, and you got to keep the American idea and the dream and all that stuff alive. But how you do it when it's so just convoluted with crap, like people that don't care. I mean, the number one thing in this country that this country is supposed to be taking care of is the youth and the children. And we just spitting them away. Like,
Yeah.
where are these missing kids? Where do they go? Everyone's always like, oh, well, we have this many kids doing this, that, and this. Okay, Well, where are they? Because they don't stop coming. Okay, great. You adopted 40,000 this year, but you took 330,000. So where's the 290,000? And then you got a fresh crop of another 400,000 coming in next year. So you keep taking 40,000 away. Well, we're approaching 1 million every 3 years. Like, where are those kids? I don't know. They lose track. You just saw those things with the committee for the people in the immigration stuff where they came across, they're like missing 85,000 kids. And those are people that have immigrated to this country. You know what I mean? So, like, holy Christ, can you imagine what it must be like for the people that are like been here? They don't even pay attention to anything. This stuff's right in front of their face. At least it's making the news. You don't see any of this CPS stuff making the news. I'm turned into a tinfoil hat wearing quack. Like, oh, this guy, he's just, let's go search him. Let's go. He's got drugs. They're on stuff. They're this, they're that. No, you stole my freaking kid and I'm pissed. And I'm trying to get people to follow me to do something. I don't even know what it is anymore. I thought this was going to be an easy thing. I really did. I thought this was going to be easy to get a bunch of people behind you. Like, everybody loves kids. You do this. And that's why I like the videos I play. They're not, I try to hit like home, like, people like, Jesus, your stuff's so dark. Well, it's not nice. They rip your freaking kid out of your family. Like, they tear families apart. Tent cities are popping up everywhere. Why? Bet you if you interview most of them, 60 to 70% of those people have been affected by CPS. They probably all had nice homes before that. They went off the wagon. Substance abuse people, they were sober raising their kids, but they brought this up, like, because Joe Blow did crack 20 years ago, or someone was a heroin addict, or whatever they were, but they stopped it to be a parent. But then CPS gets a hold of this stuff and they rehash it. What do you expect? If anybody knows anything about, Jesus Christ, what's the word?
Addiction.
Yeah, but about addiction, but about, my God, why can't I think of it? When you get better. What do they call it when you get better?
Sobriety.
Yeah, sobriety. But if they know about recovery, there it is. There's my word.
There, yeah.
I did dig deep for that one. But they know that, relapse is part of this whole progress, and they're using that against parents. So that's not even right. Like, it's absolutely out of line. It's like they got you in check at every point of the game. No matter where you're trying to play it, no matter what you're trying to put up there, it's like they're already coming at you. But how not could you be when you have an endless budget? You have an open checkbook. You can have whatever you want. Obviously, you could come up with the best scams, the best schemes, the best lawyers, the best defenses. I mean, you could pay judges even. Imagine that. You have money to pay judges and doctors and all kinds of people you can pay to come out into courtrooms and say, these people aren't fit to be parents. And this is the reality of what's happening. But people want to say people like us are kooks. And then you have these assholes that are trying to come up in the ranks of this movement and trying to be number one at something, or trying to be whatever the hell they're trying to be, and trying to, like, listen, I get it. Like, if you're going to be in this stuff, you got to make a dollar, right? You got to figure out a way, especially if you're devoting every aspect of your life into this. Sure. But if people are donating money to you to say that you're going to go to this cause, then you don't go and get gas and buy your groceries with that. That money is coming out of someone's pocket that worked hard. That money needs to go to that cause. I mean, we argue this stuff with Red Cross and all this stuff, like they get $1 billion a year donated, but what I think like 130,000 actually goes to Red Cross. That's heartbreaking, when someone works their asses off. And if they think that $20 that they sent me is going to go towards directly funding the kids, then that $20 better get there. You know what I mean? If you want to give me some money, go do it with my Cash App or something like that. But you get all these people that are they're making bad names. They're making bad decisions. They're making bad names. So people aren't taking this movement seriously. Something is wrong in this machine, and we haven't figured out what it is yet. And we're fascinated. I knew this was coming. I got involved with this like 4 years ago. So you had a fresh election over with, and you could see the excitement in the movement. Everyone's like, oh, new people in office, something's going to happen. But you've seen over the past 4 years, you see the machine slow down when you don't see results, or as people get TPR'd, they fall off, which I understand that completely, because there's nothing more disheartening than having your kid terminated from you. I don't like to say this at all, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I feel like having your kid terminated from you is worse than if your kid had passed away, because at least you would have a closure. Like my daughter's still walking somewhere on this earth wondering where her dad is. Why did mommy and daddy leave me? Why did this happen? You know what I mean? Not if they passed away, at least that's done. That's him. And then we can all work on our, recovering and getting out and better, to get better with that. So, and I mean no disrespect that way. Every day, I can't imagine doing regular 40-hour-a-week job at a supermarket, or just doing anything that I couldn't be in front of a computer and find something that, oh man, I got to try this, or I got to call this person to see if I can do this to get my daughter back. Like I'll never stop trying to fight for my daughter back, ever. Ever, ever, ever. Like they're stuck with me for another, well, she's 7 now, so 11 years I'm in this, or I'm in it even past that, actually, because I'm never going to stop this now. This is my calling, I think. I don't know what the hell my calling is, but it seems like this is working for me, kind of. But the thing is getting all of these people to back us up and listen. It's not the people that are involved in this, but it is. But it's also those people that haven't been affected yet. And how do you make people that don't see something, and how do you make people that don't have to witness it? And it's not even in their social groups. How do you make them pay attention to this? They don't want to hear it. It's the elephant in the room. If you've lost your kids to DHS, go ahead and walk into your high school reunion where everybody knows you lost your kids to DHS, and see how fast everybody flocks to you. It's non-existent, and you're the elephant in the room. And one by one, people will come up and talk to you and whatever. But you're stained. You've lost your kid. They don't want to hear why. They don't want to hear the story. They just hear that you're this, and they don't care. Even friends of 30 years, they don't care. You lost your kid, like that's it. And there is the stigma that goes with that. And that's what I try to change with like the apparel and that stuff. Like there's the stigma. If we can break the stigma, then we can get people to start listening. Once the stigma's gone, they start listening, then we can educate people. Once we educate them, we can activate them, and then maybe they'll listen. But how long do we have? Like kids are growing, time doesn't stop. It's really quite a situation, and to not have the urgency and the attention that this thing needs is very disheartening. So that's me. That's what I'm about. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So
wow. So I agree with you 100%. We'll first touch on how do we make people aware of this? Well, unfortunately, the saying goes, nobody cares about it till it comes to their front door. Okay.
Right.
So there really is no way. I mean, we can do shows, we can put it online, we can do everything we want to do, but until it affects someone personally, they don't care.
Right.
Yep. And as far as people donating and this, that, and the third, I hear a lot of shit about a lot of other advocates.
Mm-hmm.
What I can tell you is the information that I have is free. I don't charge anybody. I know how to get around them because there is a pattern that they have. And the ones that are charging and that don't have correct information, they make everybody look bad.
Right, which hurts us.
Right. It tears the credibility of the real people. I've been doing this for 35 years now.
Right. So you've seen a ton.
People oh my God. Absolute craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do work with my lawmakers.
Mm-hmm.
But see, here's the thing. I don't think they took me serious until I put my county on blast with their own body cam footage and beat their ass in court again. And an administrative hearing, and then now they're like, "Oh shit, she really does know." Right.
So until you make that mark, you get shunned away. Until you're going to become a thorn in their side, you're absolutely right. They can repel all the emails and phone calls and protests and all that stuff. That's nothing to them. There's something to be said for how come you can talk about the president on the United States of America, blast his ass all over TV, and that's fine. But if you speak wrong about CPS on a national television network, not only do they lose they get fined, I believe it's somewhere $50,000 or $100,000, which that's tits to them, but they lose their sponsors for a day. And that hits them right in the pocket. But no other thing. They can talk about anything else. Don't you talk about CPS and have wrong information, because you're screwed then. And you shouldn't report anything wrong anyway. That's the other thing. You're playing with people's heartstrings here. You're playing with their hopes. Like, you better damn well do your research before you come out and say something, and make sure what you're talking about, especially this age of AI. People are just running shit on AI and they're like, oh, my AI says this. Read about it. Look in, open up that thing that has pages inside of it with paper and ink on it. that have stood the test of time, and make sure that that stuff's right before you go giving that information to these other people, because they're depending on this information. They're depending on people to help you. I mean, there's not a lot of help out here in this movement. There, you know what I mean? There is and there isn't. I guess there's a way to say. There's a ton of people that are gung ho. I'm going to help you write your documents. Let's go, woo! And you call them tomorrow, and they're nowhere to be found, and you never talk to them again. You know, or there's 1,000 Facebook Messenger groups, and everybody's beating the same drum, but nobody's. And the thing is, and so this is a great question for you. Like, you've seen 35 years. Like, I've had people on my show that have been in for 20 years. And my argument is, when they get hot and heavy with me about that, I'm like, well, you've been in for 20 years. Nothing's changed. So what do you know? You know, like, we've got to try different things. But what have you seen, Tiff, that has worked? What does work?
Well, there's a couple things that work. Now, up until 2021, unless you knew me personally, or had a friend that knew me, or somebody had to know me in order for me to help, right? Because my biggest thing was being charged with some kind of crime. But when they came for my daughter and my grandson, now I'm the type of person, I don't bend, I don't break, I don't concede. You can do whatever you want to do to me, but you start coming for my kids and my grandkids, we got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I finally told him who I was. So there's a couple things that work. But I don't want to talk about those on air because they could be watching. You don't want to
let the secrets out, right?
But I will tell you that they can't figure out how I'm getting these kids out of foster care. And it's so easy when I because it was like second nature to me, right? At one point I hit myself and was like, I should have had a VA, because that shit is so easy.
Right.
But they're stuck. They are so stuck on money. That's all they see, right? They don't see outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about money for me. What it is for me, it's not even about beating them. It's about getting a child placed either back in the home or with kin or fictive kin, and get them the hell out of that system so they can stop making money off these kids.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what it's about for me.
Yep. Just getting the kids. These kids are being turned into victims when they're already supposed to be being removed, because they're the victims. Like, this isn't how you treat victims. Like, these kids should be put up at Disney World and made to feel special again. And because if there really was abuse and neglect that was so severe that it warranted imminent danger status, you know, then this kid was having a shitty life. They were in a bad spot, and they should be happy as hell that someone came in to grab them away. You don't see kids screaming, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." You see kids that are turning 18 looking for their parents, and they're horrified with the shit that they've been put through, and this what they've done. You know, because once the checks comes, you better believe it, they don't care about your kids anymore. They don't give two shits. Once those checks are done, why do you think all these kids are missing? And the thing is they set up the perfect storm, because I don't know where my daughter is. You know, like, I don't know. I don't have a clue. How do I know to look for her if she's missing? I know she's missing from me, and I know what to do. But say something happened to her out of this. We would never know. We're not going to look for her. So this is how these kids just disappear. They're gone. They're new people. We don't know. We don't know a thing about them, you know, other than what we know from the moment that they took them. And no one's going to look for them. I bet you they know damn well how many kids are missing. They know damn well, because I bet you they just go right back and look how many checks they've gotten. You know what I mean? Like, that's all they got to do is go look at their ledger. They'll know how many kids. They're not going to tell you that. They're just gone. They've disappeared, because the big question is, where do all these kids go? Well, they're probably right in front of us too. You just don't know. And they don't know, because everything, their heritage is wiped away. Everything that they know, wiped away. They've been reset, retrained. And most of the times they're put into these terrible situations that their body is immediately just blacking out anyway because they're so devastated from the trauma of being removed. Then they're put into another situation right from it. It cracks me up that they make you, like DHS up here, make you go through ACEs and all this stuff when the number one trauma to a kid is getting to lose their parents. So wait, you're gonna have us go through this whole learn about ACEs and all this stuff and the trauma and how this goes through. But the number one thing that they're telling you is what exactly you're doing. Sure, Your Honor, I did the course. Did you guys? Like, apparently you didn't listen because what you're doing is what they say is the problem. So it just amazes me that it's just that, just this whole thing. But everybody's, go ahead, go outside with a baby in your hand, throw it down on the ground in a parking lot, see what happens. Watch.
Well, see, here's the thing. This is what people have to really, really understand. My brother-in-law is a senator in Delaware. He's been on my show. He's actually taking a deeper dive into Child Protective Services because of me, and I'm so thankful. Anyway, they don't really take abused children, okay?
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you why. They're not adoptable.
Right, they're damaged.
What?
They're damaged.
Right.
You know what damaged goods?
Right. You can't get rid of damaged goods, right?
No.
So they take children literally who have never been abused, has a case of a alleged abuse or neglect, right?
Yep.
Realize the child, normal, healthy, good looking, adoptable, under 5.
Yep.
Terminate the parental rights because CPS doesn't like the parents aren't doing something, doesn't like whatever the case may be, right?
Right. Yep.
So I'm going to send you the website that I go on. But there's actually a study that has been done that says children, even if they are abused, fare so much better in the abused home because once they are removed, they are 600. Did you hear that? 600 more times to be sexually abused, physically abused, or murdered.
Yeah. Well, it says in the Bible, and I say this all the time, it says, don't look at the book for examples, look to the animals. They'll tell you everything you need to know. What happens when a bird falls out of the nest? You go touch that, see what happens. Because, see, this is one thing that no one talks about either. Mothers have such an attachment with their kids that when they're detached from their kids, it's not easy to take them back because now another mother has touched these kids. They've mothered this child. So now the mother feels less adequate. They don't feel like they were good enough. They weren't, they have this problem, but no one talks about this. No one talks about the things. No one talks about the fathers being broken and never feeling again. I want my daughter home more than anything in this earth. When she comes home, freaking scared you'll be? How scared you'll be to even, bump into him, to make a move. Don't touch him. Don't do this. Don't do that. Because you're going to be afraid that someone's going to come and take him again. And how nervous they'll be. Are they even going to feel comfortable with you because they were taken from you? There's all of these things that they do. And in a whim of some stuck-up 23-year-old caseworker that just got out of college, and because you disrespected her because you were mad because they were taking your kids, she's going to decide that it's up to her to make sure that you never see your child again. You're going to ruin a person's life. You're going to play God right now. You're going to make that decision, judge and jury, that this life is over because that's what they just took was a life. That kid will never again be the same.
See, here in Virginia, I'm working with a lawmaker. I actually have a meeting with her next Friday, I believe, the 20th, whatever the 20th is.
Yeah.
And in my first meeting with her, I told her, we need to look at 2 things. First, we need to look at the child support laws because they're unconstitutional. That's another thing.
Right. Yeah.
But my biggest thing is we need to look at Child Protective Services. I said, so let me give you an example so you understand what I'm talking about. But before I talked to her, I looked at her bio. She's all about the Constitution, and she deals with government corruption. So I'm like, this is my girl right here.
So far, we're good, right?
Right. And I told her that. I said, so now we have to address CPS and the courts because I, as Tiffany Wise' grandmother, cannot walk in a courtroom and say, I believe my grandchild is being abused. Okay, Miss Wise, get out of here. You ain't got no evidence.
Right.
So this is how I put it the second time. I said, but Tiffany Y CPS worker can walk in a courtroom and say, I believe this child is being abused and I'll get a removal order. I said, absolutely not. Can't have two systems. Cannot
Right.
be both ways.
Right. Absolutely not.
They need to come with evidence. They need to come with a witness. They need to bring criminal charges. They need to do all of this because it is not fair for you to be charged, well, civilly charged with abuse and neglect, not criminally charged and tried by a jury of your peers, with you being able to face your accuser, which the state can never be.
Right. You can't. Right.
Uh,
Only around
right?
court.
They can't unless
Right.
they witness it. Even a police officer cannot arrest you if he did not witness the crime.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So that's what we're going to be talking about. But Virginia, it's very disappointing because we fall 51st in the whole nation on returning kids. They only return 40% of children in Virginia that have been removed, and they adopt out 60% of children in this system here in Virginia.
You ever done the actual math? Or did you just listen to the statistics that they say? Because they were saying those numbers before. That's where I come up with. If you took last year's numbers, the national numbers, you did the math the way that you should do math, that without all that other crap that they add into it now, it came out to a 12%. You had a 12% rate of getting your child back. But they're like, oh, we're reunifying. We're doing this. We're doing this. Take their numbers and do math yourself. You're going to get a completely scanned different numbers. So I bet you in your state, I bet if it says that, I bet it's even less.
Well, here's the thing. There was an independent review done on child protective services here in 2018.
Yep.
We got the biggest F. We fell so far below, even West Virginia was higher than us. And we connect right to their state line.
Wow. I got Maine's right here, actually. And it's funny, they had two of them. The recent one was 2022. Where did I put it? And inside of there, I definitely got to find this for you now. Actually, you know what? I can just pull it up right here. You got to hear this with this because so many people have lost their kids based on domestic. Oh, that's the other thing. Do you see? Here it is, right here. Sorry, I had to go down to the special deep section here. All right. First of all, if you guys don't have folders and folders of this when you're in CPS stuff, you ain't doing it right.
I've got file cabinets.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Drawers upon drawers. That way, if this stuff ever crashes, we still got copies, right?
Yep. I print everything.
I do too. Thank God for HP Print Plus or whatever it is that I rent.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's a life. I should be get them to back me up. Because do you use that? Do you use HP?
I have HP.
Do you do the rental ink stuff? The HP inkjet, the ink. I can't think of the name of it.
I know what you're talking about, where you get like 10 free, and then you got to pay so much for the rest of them.
It's awesome. It really is. And I'm not getting paid to say this either.
Yeah.
The bad part is if you don't pay your bill, your printer is no good to you. they lock it up. But
well, I actually went out and bought two other ones too, just for that. But I don't have the money.
I know, because printers are cheap enough. You know, when you run out of ink, you just go get a new printer.
Right.
They don't come with the ink. Let's see. Let me find this right here somewhere. But this is this is from the oversight committee, right? And I tried to use this in our court case. I tried to use it when I went against the Supreme Court. And it's like it falls on deaf ears. So finally, you know, I don't know whether it's my crashing on them or whatever, but they do this stuff. They find out that Maine is completely just out of sorts and doing everything wrong, but no one cares. What I'm looking for right here is they have examples of what are not abuse and neglect, actually from the committee, which is they believe is right here. And it's nuts. I should know it by heart because I rehearse it all the time. But it says, let me see. Where are you, Mr. Thing? See, I should have just pulled it up on the computer. It would have been faster. I know it's right here. But anyway, it talks about people with substance abuse issues. That's not abuse or neglect. Talks about isolated, things about domestic violence. That's not abuse or neglect. It says that, let me see, wherever. It just says these things that how many people that you have out there watching this right now have had a substance abuse issue. Their kids are probably gone. How many people domestic violence? I mean, those are the ones that they get to look in their crystal ball and they say down the road, or could. Well, you know what? Caseworker could come in my house, take my kid away, walk across the street, get hit by a bus, and they're both dead. Well, we didn't see that coming in your crystal ball, did we? But those are things that happen. And, like life is going to happen to people. And this is where these things, I'm a firm believer. The bill that I'm writing right now says that, imminent danger needs to have not only a definition that can only be used, but specific incidents is to be imminent danger. Because when I think imminent danger, I'm thinking fire trucks, ambulances, Air Force, maybe some bombs, with sirens blowing up, shit's going down. Not because, dad had a beer and mom was smoking a joint. That sounds like a party, not imminent danger. That's not an imminent danger situation. So, those things need to be tooled up and because they're getting away with using vague definitions to hammer us in, but we can't do that. We can't do that. And when they first took my kid, I tried to go in and I replicated their paperwork against me. So I did the same thing back to them. And they went up in arms about that. The judge in the courtroom threw his robe off, came out. He's like, what do you think you're doing? Oh, yeah, he was pissed. But he was also telling me, he said the same thing you just said. You can't, because I wrote state of Maine on everything. He says, you can't go after an entity, dude. He's like, you can't. But wait a minute, the entity just came and took my kid. So why can I not go back after it? And then I didn't know anything about what I know now. Then I just didn't understand, because everything you have that you've given me says state of Maine is whatever. But now I'm coming to fight state of Maine, and you tell me I can't? Well, how come you can sign off? Well, how come you can sign off as that being an entity, but I can't come in and say that I'm coming at you? It's crazy.
Because it's a double standard.
Right. Absolutely.
So do you have the 154 cases against CPS?
I do not have that.
Oh, when we get off, you're going to send me your phone number and I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send you everything I have.
Give me the arsenal, baby.
Oh, I'm going to overwhelm you.
Perfectly. Perfectly good.
But I'm going to send you this information. And it's funny because one of the ways, I will say this, one of the ways to beat them is use their own policy, procedures, the state statutes, laws, regulations, rules, codes, everything.
Yep.
They just got mad because you reversed psychology their ass and he got pissed.
Yep. He come flying right out of that courtroom.
Yeah.
Take us right out into the hallway. Right out into the hallway. Disrobed and come right out in the hallway.
I wish a judge would do that to me. They won't even hear nothing with my name on it because I've told them I'm going to sue them.
Yep. I can't wait. And then, hey, how do you feel about the whole everybody talking about suing? But how do you feel about the people saying that they're going to do a class action lawsuit? What's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't do a class action. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, even though we all say the money doesn't matter, okay, it costs a lot of money and not a lot of law firms will take on a class action.
Right.
But if you lose that class action, you cannot go back personally and sue these people.
Right. Now, this is my question to you. Does that affect anybody else in the future? This what we were talking about on the show the other night. We didn't have a lawyer on that night. So if I say I went out and I did a class action suit, let's just say I'm suing them for thing A, whatever thing A is, right? Does that mean down the road that no one else can take a lawsuit out on thing A because that's been handled now? Or
only in the Supreme Court. Only in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because the Supreme Court is the highest of court in this land.
Right.
Once, let's say they rule, we'll do Chevron. They ruled 40 years ago to put Chevron in place, right? And they're the only court that could unrule Chevron because they made the call.
Okay. But I'm saying, once that decision's made, someone else can't go and bring up the lawsuit for the same thing again, correct?
Yes, they
unless
can.
you, but you have to go to the Supreme Court to do it, is what you're saying.
Right.
Or whatever.
And
I got you.
and right. And then let's say the Supreme Court rules in your favor because of whatever A was.
Yep.
Now, once they rule, cannot the only people that can overrule it is the Supreme Court. No lower court. Nobody can even challenge it unless they take it back to the Supreme Court.
Okay, gotcha. So in a sense, it is like that, unless you're going to the, and what's the chances of you even getting into the Supreme Court? They hear like 0.02% of cases that are instilled on them a year or something.
Well, actually, I read an article that they said that they want to do more cases because they only do like 80 a year, and they should really be doing like 400 a year.
Right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I don't think they're getting enough. I don't think that they're getting enough of this stuff. I mean, this stuff is not getting it's not getting, and there's enough people out there that are challenging it. I mean, I wonder I found it. Here we go. Check this out. What child abuse and neglect is not. It says some situations may indicate that a family or a child needs community services or support, but do not meet the definition of child abuse or neglect. Examples include living in poverty, including lack of food, clothing, or shelter that is not injurious to the child. Accidental injuries, even if regular and recurring. Parental or prenatal substance use. Physical or mental impairment of the parent, including substance use, if it has little or no impact on the child. Isolated incidents of domestic violence when the child was not present. Physical discipline like spanking, as long as it does not cause bodily injury. The state of Maine has said this is what abuse and neglect is not, and 90% of the freaking cases of people losing their kids up here are those things that I just read to you, and they don't care. No one's listening.
Well, this is what I would do. I wouldn't file a class action. I would get enough people.
Yeah.
See, the thing with the Supreme Court, to get to the Supreme Court, you have to have a lawyer. Okay.
Right.
That's just part of their rules. Any other court, you do not have to have a lawyer, but them, you got to have a lawyer.
Yep.
The difficulty is going to be finding the lawyer.
Right.
But if you have, right, because remember, a lawyer's first client is the state.
The court. Right. Yep.
So you need to get a bunch of people together that are in your state. Try and find a lawyer. Say, look, I got 100 complaints right here. We need to take this to the Supreme Court. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Is instead of doing the class action, was one at a time, one person at a time, but all together. But kitty, that's my little kitty mama. One at a time. She just had 7 babies herself. I'm waiting. Those bastards want to come try to take them kitties. Protect them now. But that's what we were talking about. Instead of doing the class action, just having a group of people because the class action is the same. Everybody's going after the same thing, the same exact, whatever. And that's why I was curious of if it hurt for people down the road, like if they could go after it or not. But yeah, because one individual, I mean, there's no dollar amount on what your kid costs. I know that they've placed it. Some places have it at $600 an hour. There's those paperworks that say that, and all of this. But you know what? We all deserve something when we've gone through this, because it's taken away our life. It's taken away our time. It's taken away. I mean, who knows where you would be today? I would be today, and if everything was perfect in our family lives, like if, I certainly wouldn't be talking to you, which isn't bad. I would be glad that if I was never having this conversation, to be honest, but we're here now and we'll make the best of it. But, like what if, there's so many what ifs. And then what is that worth to your child for the rest of their life? Because they're going to be the ones that hurt, and they definitely deserve something. I mean, and I think if I'm right, are you talking about the harm of abuse the harm of removal study at the University of Baltimore that happened? Is that the one that you were referring to, that study that said that if the kids were taken, because they say it in there too, they might have gotten it from somewhere else, but they say there too that even if a kid is abused to a maximum extent, once you remove them from there, you cause so much more damage than them actually entailing that. And then I get the people on the shows that that's not true. I was this, and this. Well, you know what? Everything's not perfect and everybody's not the same. Obviously, there's some people that, And this is what I want to go back to too, is the damaged good things, because people say that you're mean when you say that. It's not. It's the truth. Look at the kids that are going into CPS. The kids that need the help are dying. That's why it's such an outrage. Because you'll hear these, little kid died, but they called CPS on them 30 times, 30 times. You know how many times CPS was called on me? 0. The cops made a call.
0.
The cops made a call on their little thing to come in tomorrow. That was it. Then CPS comes into my life. Not someone else, not nothing. It was just from the incident that took place. And the cop said, we need to have a 216 or whatever. And I didn't know what that was, but I knew damn well what it meant. And they came next day in force. I mean, it looked like, the president was coming, except for it was CPS, black Suburbans, police cars, the whole night. Look at the fuck. Jesus Christ.
Did they have a removal order?
No, not that day.
You should have called me. Oh my God. And you should have put me on that phone. If you go back and watch my very first videos, I told you they came from my daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter used to travel around the country for her job. So she didn't have a quote unquote stable place because she was traveling all the time.
Right.
So we'll just use this address. I mean, you lived here. So when the nurse who lied and I got her fired because I called the fraud department at the hospital. Anyway, they came that night to the hospital after I left. And the first thing I said to her was, because she said, Miss Chaconis, you're going to have to sign this safety plan or we're going to take the baby into custody. I said, hold it. Aren't those voluntary? She said, yeah. And so she ignored me after she realized I was the mother of the daughter and the grandmother, right? So finally, I had enough of her shit. I looked at my daughter. I said, Sade, do you consent? She said, no. I said, tell this bitch you don't consent.
Nice.
So she said, I don't consent. And she kept on. And I said, you know what? Not only am I her mother and the grandmother of this child right here, but I'm also a parent advocate and I am now invoking their rights. You need to leave. So the doctor releases them, right? Doctor filled out the paperwork. We leave. I tell my daughter, do not stop until you cross that state line and you get him something to eat after you cross the state line.
Right.
10 minutes later, boom, 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 my husband's like looking at me and I'm like, are they here? He's like, yeah. I had just put my nightgown on. And I tell people this too. If they come to your front door, go out the back door or a side door. Don't ever go out where they are. So I just had these French doors put into my garage on the side of my house. So I walk out and the cop's like, the CPS worker wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. She was like, because they were looking for my daughter, but they got me.
Right.
I lost my shit. I told her, do you have a warrant? She said no. And you can hear my voice change, right? Because I'm almost going to die of hysterics. And I tell her, she has a Fourth Amendment right to privacy. She's got the Fifth Amendment right to shut the fuck up. And that's what she did. She has a Sixth Amendment right to face her accuser. She has a 14th Amendment right to due process. That's that show I go on. Because no. I said, well, you're not getting in my house.
Yeah,
I said, and they didn't come to my house. Oh, yeah, they were here for 2.5 hours. They were in my name. They were in my customers' cars. They were doing all kinds of shit. So let me tell you what happened. The prosecutor has known me for 25 years because the job I used to have, he would prosecute all my cases. So we became friends.
Mm-hmm.
I took my video to him because that same night I did a Freedom of Information Act to the Sheriff's Department. I said, I want all police reports. I want all the body cam footage. I want everything. And he gave it to me. I took it to my prosecutor on my YouTube channel, who he watches. He watched it for 10 minutes. And he called the Sheriff's Department. He said, you have the right to tell the police to get the fuck off your property if they don't have a warrant.
That's right. The second they don't have a warrant, you look right at those cops, you say trespass these people right now. And do it. Don't let them intimidate you. That's the number one thing. You know how many people, I know I'm not worried about you, but you know how many people, the badges show up and all of a sudden they're scared to hell. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a scary thing, especially if you're already in trouble. Like you just conform to them, and now they're all militarized. They got the black on black cars and they're supposed to be, protect and serve my ass. So they're showing up, but they're not even supposed to be there with them to begin with. They have no role in this whatsoever. Because let me tell you something, you get into a fight with your wife and the police show up, and you're like, oh, we're arguing about, if it's you and your wife, you're arguing, yeah, they'll take someone out of the home. But if you're saying, oh, we're arguing about her, my daughter, what are we going to do? Whoa, that's civil. We don't handle this matter. But yet they're going to come up on my doorstep when CPS comes. That's civil too, dude. Like, so what are you doing here?
Well, me and the sergeant, right? Because I had to remind these people, I am the daughter of a police officer. Okay. And he reminds me all the time that, Tiffany, those motherfuckers work for you, and you make sure you tell them that shit. Anyway,
your dad knows. Like, he comes back from, and I'm only saying this because I know that you're older than, whatever. So your dad was in a day that cops were cops and they were there to help you and to be there for you. And to, like if you got picked up drunk driving, and I don't mean anything mad about this, meaning Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. I'm not saying that I agree with drunk driving, but they would say, look, dude, get in the back of my freaking car. Let's go home. Because they weren't going to ruin someone's life over an incident that just took place. Now you became habitual with it. Yeah, they busted your balls, but they were there to help you and have a sense of the community. That's what the cops were about. Now, you don't know who your cops are in your town. You don't know who they are. They used to come, give you cards and things and, like show up at the playground and play basketball with you. And, you knew who the cops were in your community. It was like, they were like the extended of your parents, like it wasn't that you were afraid you were going to get in trouble. You didn't want to disappoint them because they were part of that community. Now it's just, they're just badges and guns with they have no respect for you. So I have no respect for them. Like they just, it's a disgusting thing that the police have turned into. And I'm not saying all cops are that way, but for just in a sense, why are you there with CPS? Why are you there?
I'll tell you why. So me and the sergeant, after I told all of them that they needed a lesson in the Constitution because they were breaking all kinds of federal laws, the sergeant said, can I talk to you? I said, yeah, I'll talk to you. So I'll have to send you the videos. Anyway, I said, you're only here to protect her. He said, yes, that's true. Because, these situations can get out of control. And this is exactly what I said to him. I'm not going to put my hands on her. But what I didn't finish telling him was, because I know I can beat her ass in a courtroom. And I did.
Good. That's good.
So they're only there to intimidate you.
Right. That's it. That's the only thing.
You'll have to look this up, and everybody's state is different. But even in Virginia, if they have a removal order, they can still not enter your home without a search warrant.
Really?
Really? They can't even execute a search warrant in Virginia after dark.
Right. It's supposed to be, it has to be hours of like community hours or whatever they say, like 9 to 5 type shit, or bankers hours or whatever. They're not even allowed to do that. And I think that that's a standard rule like throughout. But it's just crazy. And people need to stop being intimidated by them. Use them. You trespass them on your property. It's going to be damn hard for them to be able to come back. So make sure you make that your move. Don't think that they're there. This is the other thing. Everybody just flapping their gums, just telling them, thinking that you're going to talk. Listen, first of all, you're not going to talk your way out of this to a CPS worker. All you're doing is burying yourself. You're digging yourself a bigger hole. They don't sit there and be like, oh, I was in recovery. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up, because all you're doing is giving them what they need to go back and say that we need to further this investigation. Just shut your mouth. Tell them to leave and be gone. Don't think that you're the parent of the year, because they're going to take you down anyway. How do you even, it doesn't matter. They're going to lie anyway. So you can't fight fire with fire like that. The best thing is just shut your mouth. Tell them to get the hell off your property. Tell the police to trespass them. If they don't leave, if they want to sit there and make a stink, trespass these people right now. That's your right. That's your home. They're harassing you now. Trespass them.
Not only trespass them, go to Google and Google the color of law form. I have 400 copies, okay? I
Yep.
give them to people. Write that shit down while they're outside of your house, because trust me, they're using the police all run. Tiffany Wise,
Yep.
unknown birthday, unknown social. Can you check if there's any warrants? Yeah, because you can serve them right there with the color of law form and put your rights where it says what is the violation. Your Fourth Amendment right to privacy, your Fifth Amendment right to shut up,
Mhm.
and your 14th Amendment right to due process, because they can't take your kids without a court order.
What is the color of law? How does that break down? What is that? How do you use that? How do you work that? What is it intended? I hear so many people talk about it. I've never worked that direction.
Okay. So how the color of law works, right? I don't have a form down here because I'm downstairs because I'm raising two of my grandkids and they're under
Yeah.
6. So anyway, every state judge, lawyer, prosecutor, anybody like that, they're state actors. Okay. Even the Supreme Court will call them state actors. When CPS has no warrant, or let me rephrase that, no removal order, and they show up at your door, oh, they want to see your kids, you need to bring them outside, you need to do this, you need to do that. Absolutely not. They're working under color of law. Okay. They do not have the authority to remove your child without a court order. Period. In the story. The United States Supreme Court has sent it. And it's in that stuff I'm going to send you.
All right.
Not only that, the police work under color of law when they're not there on a criminal matter. Okay? Because if you ever read the county sheriff's handbook,
Yep, I got it.
you got it? So you know that the sheriff's department is constitutional, not code actors, right? So the sheriff's department should never be there.
Right. Correct.
But they were here on my property and they do not like me. They pick straws when they got to come see Miss Wise over here at 105 Ridge Road. Okay, you're laughing, but that's the God's honest truth.
No, I believe. I believe.
So they work under color of law because they are there to help remove your child when they have no business being there without a warrant. Don't let them in your home without a warrant. Make them go get a search warrant. I don't care if they sit at the end of your driveway. Tell them to get the fuck off your property. You sit your ass at the bottom of the driveway in the road until they come back with the warrant. I marched 12 of them, 12 police officers off my property in my nightgown at night, and their cars lined all the way up and down the street so I couldn't see them. So when you serve a color of law form, it is a constitutional thing too, right? That's why you have to put the rights that they violated on there. They're on your property. It's private property. Once you tell them to leave, they are now in violation of your personal space.
Okay.
They want to keep questioning you. I used to tell my kids before they all hit adulthood, I don't care who talks to you. If I'm not there, one word is all you need to know. I even taught them how to spell it. Lawyer.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So they're in violation of your Fifth Amendment because they want to keep on and keep on and keep on. And he's right. Just shut the fuck up because they're just fishing.
Yep.
Just fishing. Just like a prosecutor.
Yep. Just waiting for you to fuck up and sell them the wrong thing. That's all they're doing.
That's right. And you have a right to due process. And due process means you have the right to be heard in a courtroom before they take your children. Ex partes are unethical. That's when you serve them with color of law forms.
All right. And what does that do as far as what is the...
It puts them on notice. It's clear. It says right here, you are to cease and desist or I will sue you under 42 USC 1983.
Which we all know the 1983 thing. That's what everybody's trying to pull into now. Did you see that TikTok lady? The lady on TikTok the other day that said, I had it on my show, that said that no one can get into the federal courts. It's never going to happen and all this because there's some family court act that makes it so that the federal courts can't hear these things or they try to push you out. It's
well, here's the thing. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
The courts, right? I am the biggest constitutional, the biggest Bill of Rights person. I mean, my dad, told you, my dad's a retired police officer. He's 77 years old, and he reminds me every day that how bright I am and how he taught me the Constitution, right?
Mhm.
It is the right of the people to access the courts. I am now telling people, if CPS goes to your local courthouse, gets a removal order, you will automatically put in a notice to transfer that shit to federal court.
Mhm. Right. I tried to do that. Actually, my lawyer wouldn't allow it to happen because, of course, we know why. But if I know now what I knew then, this would be a whole different story. Um, because they will listen to you. They have to listen to the Constitution. And I also tell people, look, if because when you're playing in these kangaroo courts, they won't hear the Constitution. Well, break out your state constitution and find out what replicates what you're looking for of your rights in your state's constitution and use that, because they have to listen to that, because that's what they're signed on for.
Well,
So
here, the way to get into federal court is you have to quote a violation. And I'm going to tell you what the violation is. The first violation is they went to court and did an ex parte on you, right? Which goes against your 14th Amendment clause, to be heard before they removed your child.
right.
Then the cases that I'm going to send you, there's cases in there, but they don't want to hear those cases. The best way to get in the federal court is you have to have a constitutional claim. It was your
Right.
Fourth Amendment right to privacy, and it's your 14th Amendment and your Fifth Amendment right to due process.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get. And not only do you fight the claim for yourself, you can't technically fight for your child. You have to fight as next friend.
So your child is like their own entity when you go to that. When you're brought to that, they're no longer a possession. They're an actual human being when you go there. And that's the other thing. They in these courts, they treat your child like it's a possession. So you have these people that are going after these other, like their roots are to go after them as that's your offspring or that's your next, like all of these different terms. And again, like what is working, what's not working, like where are they going? It's nonsense that, because you can see everything is put in black and white that this is wrong. And it's how do you fight this? Like how do you get in there and fight to win? And that's it. And I've always said that I've always been an advocate of get to the federal courts because they have to listen to the constitutional arguments there. And people don't get that, like I got a constitution, I got a Bill of Rights, I got this, and I know you don't until you go there, and people don't understand that, even in these, they don't realize that these courts that we're dealing in aren't even real courts, that they're administrative level courts, that they don't exist in the real world. These are just,
well, here's the thing. I'm on the Virginia, I'm on every court in Virginia's website, okay? Mm-hmm. Appellate court, federal courts, whatever. I'm on all of them. Mm-hmm. So I go on there because I think they do it like every Monday. They release all these new things.
Yep.
Wednesdays, so I've been looking, right? I've been looking at the ones with the Department of Social Services. And let me tell you what the number one reason parents are getting their rights terminated here. You're not going to believe this. Because at their very first hearing, they did not insert their parental rights.
So it's funny you say that. Our lawyer had us, and I was ready to go balls to the walls. As soon as they took our kid, I was, I was faced into everything I could find. And I said, man, this is it. We got to go to this up here. They call it the 72-hour hearing or whatever. My lawyer says, he goes, we're going to waive this hearing. He says, because it's a hearsay hearing. And we don't want to have anything that's used in this down the road that could be said and blah, blah, blah. Worst mistake we ever made. Because that, number one, that was thrown in our face when we went to court for the TPR hearing. They said that we didn't even care enough to go to that first hearing. When we thought strategically we were doing some sort of, he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was just giving them the ball, just like you said. We had no idea what that meant. We knew didn't know that we were handing them. They got their first victory right there. They shored themselves up. And what other people don't realize is they need that first hearing so they can start getting their checks. Because now a judge has officially signed off on something, they can start getting that money. So better believe it, the one thing that they will do is make that 72-hour hearing. If there's one thing that they're not going to lie about, they're going to be at that hearing, because that's the way they're getting their money. That money, that case hearing, because they've already taken your kids without, legal authority to do so. There's no judges signing shit at this point, so they get no money. But once they go to that court hearing, the judge says, okay, boom, we're off and running. They get their funding. There comes their Title IV and all this shit. And it's the other thing I want to talk about is Title IV funding. That Title IV funding is set up the way that it should be. People don't realize that. They're not funding anything wrong. The people that are spending the money are doing it wrong. Title IV says reunify. Reunify. It says the second that you change the TPR, you get no money. Well, here's what's funny. In the state of Maine, for a judge to order a GAL, two things have to happen. Either there has to be an adoption in the lineup, or the termination of parental rights has to be in existence. So how come in the state of Maine, the first thing they do when you go and get these things, they issue a GAL? That just tells you right there. They have no intentions of giving you your child back, ever. That's part of the state now. That's part of their budget. And that's the way I say it too. That their budget is based on, use it or lose it. So in each one of our states, I bet you look, there's a 4% increase across the boards every year. Adoption, all this stuff, 4%. Keep them coming. Maybe they drop a couple more out just so they don't keep the numbers cranked, but they're increasing the number of kids that they're taking every year. And with what they're doing, it should be decreasing. The amount of money that's being put into that system, they're supposed to help you. You got a drug problem? Take care of you. They're supposed to make you a fit family, not take your kid away. Not put you into the outsource. How is this? How do you help someone with substance abuse? The number one rule in recovery is you need a solid group around you to make sure that you come off and that you're doing good in recovery. What's the first thing they do to you? They break your family apart.
Yep.
They kick you out. They say the mom's no good for you, this, that. They take your kids away. Okay, you just fell off of, you just are coming off of a 3 or 4 year heroin addiction, and you're finally coming into 2 weeks of being sober, and they're going to come and take your kids, and you're going to expect you to maintain sobriety? Come on, people. This is just common sense. And this is what they're doing. This is how they're just destroying people. It's disgusting. But until it happens to you, no one cares. And it just shows you the class of people.
This is what I tell people, because the first thing is, I'm the person you want standing at your front door, okay?
Yeah, right.
Because trust and believe me, they don't have a removal order. They're leaving, okay? Yep. Now, what else I tell people is, never, ever, 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 ever sign a voluntary surrender, because two things that just happened. You just signed a plea agreement, as far as I'm concerned. You just pled guilty to everything they accused you of. And the day you signed that, you gave them permission to put your child up for adoption.
Yep. See, I was smart enough not to do those things, but somehow they implied it and they did what they did. I mean, it was just a mess. I mean, if you don't know, that's why I wrote the book that I just got published. It says it's called Stay Calm, CPS is Coming. And that's what it talks about. It's, I'm trying to get people to read it so that they don't make these mistakes when they come. Because it's not a matter of if they come, it's when. Yeah. I mean, there's only so many kids that they can take, and the amount that they're taking, your number is going to be up. I mean, they're taking more kids than they used to draft to go to Vietnam, for Christ's sakes. Just think about that. Like your draft number was up. Like they're taking just as many kids as they were drafting to go to war. So, I mean, your number's up. They can only take so many. So they're coming around to these middle-class neighborhoods now, and they're picking their numbers.
Well, I've had difficulties a couple of times, and I'm going to tell you where the difficulty comes in. Two places. One is a hospital, okay? Because you're pretty much trapped. They got them little ankle bracelets, like if you steal some shit out of Walmart, and the thing's going to go off, right? It's just shut the whole hospital down.
Yep.
And two is school. So I've had two recent cases, both moms just giving birth. Now here, like I said, it's all about a pattern. They talked to him on a Monday. CPS went to the hospital on Monday, said they were coming back Wednesday. I said, they're not coming back Wednesday, they're coming Friday. I said, Friday is when they snatch kids here, because that gives them an extra time before that 72 hearing, right?
Yep.
I said, so this is what we're going to do. When she comes, you call me. So CPS came, and she's telling mom, now I'm on the phone, She's telling mom, well, we got to investigate you because she had Suboxone in her system.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know much about Suboxone, but I do know that you have to get a prescription for it.
Right.
So I said, okay, repeat after me. I said, you tell her that you understand that she can investigate you. It's not illegal. Anybody can investigate anybody. It's not illegal. So she
Right.
repeated it. She said, but I'm now invoking my Fourth Amendment right to privacy and my baby's Fourth Amendment right, my Fifth Amendment right, and my 14th Amendment right. Oh my God, this bitch jumped up out of the chair. Now I'm on the phone. I'm taking your kid. Now we're talking about a 5-day-old baby. She's taking a kid, okay? So I tell mom, so don't worry about it. Grandma's coming. They are going to take her, but they're not going to take her because she's still in the hospital because the baby had to stay for 5 or 7 days or something. Right. So grandma's on the phone now. The police officer's trying to tell her to get off the phone. What's your advocate's name? Tiffany. Oh, well, Tiffany doesn't have your baby's best interest at heart. I said, you tell that motherfucker that I'm the only one that's got this baby's best interest at heart, and that his ass shouldn't be there, and make sure his body cam footage is on.
Mm-hmm.
So now he don't want to talk no more, right? So grandma's on the phone, CPS is in the room, grandma's on the phone, and the police are like, yeah, when you come tomorrow, you can take the baby, da-da-da-da-da. CPS tells her the same thing. We get off the phone, I said, the bitch is lying to you. They're going to take that baby out of the hospital tomorrow, place that baby in foster care because now they want the money.
Yep.
But don't worry, you be at my house tomorrow when you get here. 6 hours we were here, came up with the plan. She went to court on Monday. Guess what happened on Monday?
You get the baby back.
They had to release the baby to grandma. Mm-hmm. The following week was an emergency hearing. Grandma got sole full custody.
That's what I'm talking about. So we need more of that. We need more of those situations. I mean, that's what we need to do. Because they take these kids and then they don't want to give them to the family because they're afraid the family's going to give them back to the kid, to the people. And rightfully so, because most families are like, what the hell are you even doing? But then what happens is, and like in my situation, my cousin stole our kid, downright stole our child. Like by the time we went to TPR, they called themselves as getting paid by the state now. So they couldn't do anything for us. They couldn't, and they threatened them to take their child too. They said, if you give you give them access to their daughter, because when that happened, they're like, oh, well, this isn't right. We're going to give you transparency. This is, blah, blah, blah. So we got her out of the place that she was in and got her with them. So I'm like, oh, thank God. And then it just got worse. And we're like, what the Christ is this? Because they scare them so much, and then they give them that money. And once you give someone money, you can do anything. I mean, I hate to say that, but you start putting money in people's pockets because it's not little money that they get. Some of these people, it's life altering, for them to get $700, $300, like $1,000 a week more into your check, like that takes you out of where you are, like, damn, I don't want to give up this money. This is a lot of money in it for easy stuff. Loving a kid isn't that hard. You know what I mean? Like it really isn't. So, and then you put money on top of that, and then obviously you get a relationship with them and it's not right. Like they need to make sure that they keep the bond. And I tell people this too. The only person that's allowed to stop you from seeing your child is a judge. CPS can't stop you. They can't stop your visits. They can't say that you can't visit. It has to be adjudicated. Judge has to do that. So if they say you can't see your kid, show me where the judge said this and keep going to see your kid, because what they do is they keep you from that. And then the lawyers figure out to keep you away from your kid for that 6-month period of time. And then bang, they got you for abandonment. And you don't even realize you thought, because time is weird when you get into this shit. Time's like a space shot, but every day is so slow. But all of a sudden it's 3 or 4 years later and it's Friday again. You know what I mean? Like time is just crazy when you're involved in this stuff. It just goes by.
I've even had couples call me and say, oh my God, they're telling me the only way I can get my kid back is if we leave each other in the center. I said, hold the fuck up.
Yeah.
First of all, I said, are you married? Well, yes. I said, okay, in your vows, didn't it, or did the preacher not say, what God brings together may no man tear apart? I said, marriage is religious. Therefore, they are infringing on your constitutional right to religion, which is to marry who you are married to. Now, there is an exception to that. If they're beating your ass, you need to just go ahead and leave.
Right. Sure. There's listen, there are people out there that are legitimately abusing and neglecting kids. There are
Yes.
people out there that are legitimately domestic violence is a real thing. It is a real thing. They're just using this stuff to their advantage. They're taking every couple argues, every couple fights. We've all had those moments. They get pretty hot and heavy, and it's just natural. You've been with your mate 20 years, like your shit. I put up with this for 20 years. You're going to have an incident, but you still love them at the end of the day. You never hurt them and whatever. And it's just life happens. And they're taking these things, and a lot of them are just isolated incidents, but they get that to take to their advantage and prolong and just go on with this stuff. Again, it's just not right. It's not fair. And the way how we have to do this is just get people to realize that when they come, shut up and don't tell them
Record.
Right.
Even me as an advocate.
Yeah.
30 years I've been doing this. I had video. I forgot all about my video cameras that I bought.
The recording devices. You know what I mean? Like back in big VHS shit.
So that I said, oh my God, Tiffany, how stupid can you be? You know the rule. I said, oh, wait a minute. These motherfuckers got body cam videos. Now I'll be able to hear everything. And that's what I did.
Yep. So you FOIA those, right? Like you FOIA those and you can keep that stuff. Right?
Yep.
So that's what I do. The FOIA is a very powerful thing. That was one of the best things the government ever gave us was that FOIA, because that did give us. I know that they're trying to crunch it now. They're trying to slow down the role of how you can obtain information in certain departments now, or all of a sudden they don't have FOIAs and things like that. But I mean, that was really a great tool. And I wanted the one thing that you said earlier too was about the pressing charges. I know somewhere at one point in time I did find that they couldn't terminate your parental rights unless they brought criminal charges ahead of you. And I wish I could find it again.
I think it's in some of those cases that I'm sending you.
Is it? Okay.
Because it talks about drug abuse, and it literally says the only way a parent's rights can be terminated: sexual abuse, criminal abuse and neglect, and murder.
Right. Yeah. See, I've read that same thing. And then it's funny how that stuff just goes away. You can't find it anymore. It's just gone. Like you just looked at it. And I don't know.
Well, you better print it, because I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. You got to print everything because the shit goes away.
Yeah.
It just vanishes. And it really does. And that's the truth. So if you see it, print it, man. The second you get it, take a screenshot, do whatever you got to do. Because believe it, when someone pulls that out and puts it to their attention, it's going to be gone. It's so important to do those things. And people don't understand that this is not an easy street thing. And this is not anything that you did, so this is like the one thing in this whole freaking world that you're going to have to fight you're going to have to fight for yourself and your freedoms at this point, and your child's. This isn't, don't sit and wait for Uncle Sam to come busting through the door and say, oh, you're the only one that, this has ever happened to, because it ain't happening. You're going to roll with their punches. You're going to roll right down to that TPR hearing. All those lawyers that they gave you are just making sure that you can't go to an appeal, that you can't win, you can't do this, that they did everything on their side that was tied up. That's the way I feel about these public attorneys. All they're doing is making sure that their TPR sticks. That's all they're doing. That's why they don't go with you in what you say about things. Oh, you're misinterpreting the law. Well, I understand English, motherfucker. And it says right here, this is wrong. So please go do your job. And that's the other thing. Make sure you use those lawyers. They're going to sit there, like you said. Their first homage is to the courts. Like they owe their courts first and foremost. But after that, it's you. So you force them to do what you want them to do. Don't let them tell you no. Don't let them be like, oh, you're this and I'm that. No, you want it done. Tell them to do it. They're getting paid. Do it. That's it.
And if they don't do it, fire their ass.
Right. Don't be afraid of that judge. This is your kid. Once you take your fucking child, it's like, that's where I'm at now. Like, there's not a lot of avenues to fight here. You think your choices are limited now. Wait till they actually TPR your ass. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you have the thing about time going by. Now you're like, wow, do I even want to do this to my kid anymore? Because they've been with there longer than, you know what I mean? Do you want to uproot them again? And, there's all of these other decisions and things you got to take into play. All of this stuff that you don't think about, So you fight like a son of a bitch to get your freaking kid back. Claw people's eyes out. Do what you got to do. That's your fucking kid. And once they're gone, there's nothing but regret.
And you're right, because before, now I've always taught people the Constitution, right? Ever since I was a teenager, because my dad instilled it in me.
Right.
Um, so I've always been about my rights and all that. But let me tell you, um, my children weren't even taken from me. I gave their dad temporary custody because I knew I was going to federal penitentiary. I'm like,
Right.
hey, you take them. When I get out, I'll take them back. He
Right.
drops them off because his
Oh,
drugs, his alcohol, and his women were more important than his 3 kids.
right.
So what they did was, my oldest daughter and my son, who was the youngest of the 3, my daughter was sexually and physically abused in this foster home, and my son was physically abused. Now they're in their 30s. They're still traumatized.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
don't let anybody tell you that shit does not wear scars their whole life. That's bullshit. My own
Right.
kids will tell you that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when we get to court, they want to flip everything around on me, right? Oh, well, she bombed the federal building. She was the one dealing the drugs. She was the one that lost the kids. I told my lawyer, so, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, the drug dealing, yeah, I did it. The arson of the federal building, yeah, I did it. But that other shit, they weren't taken from me. I
Right.
signed temporary custody over to him.
Right.
So this is what they did. They backed me in a corner with my middle daughter, right? They targeted her because once it was found out that my oldest and my youngest were being physically and sexually abused, they put them back with their dad. Oh, I was so pissed.
Right to the abuser. Right.
Right to the abuser, right? This man beat me, was a drunk, crackhead, all kinds of shit. Anyway, oh, and I'm sure they watch my show, so they know I ain't lying to them because they know about their dad. So this is what happened. I go to court. I'm fighting for her now because I can go get them from him because I can beat his ass in the courtroom. I'm not worried about them right now. I need to focus on this one. They backed me up in a corner because the judge did not like me. Because this is what I said to her. I said, you, and I pointed right at her, and everybody in this courtroom have no right to judge me. You are a judge. You are not God.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you know what? We're going to terminate your rights so you can either voluntarily surrender them or I'm going to strip them from you. So what do? I did it voluntarily because there was no way. It doesn't matter what judge I was at this point. They didn't like me because they kept bringing up my criminal record. And I bought a house and I was pregnant with my 4th one. Okay. Didn't matter.
Right.
So I voluntarily signed over my rights. Then CPS came to me after that and was like, well, you need to sign this paper right here stating that it's okay to go with their dad. This is what I did. I said, oh, yeah, sure, I'll sign that. Oh, you all are closing the case? Sure. 2 months later, I turned around, filed for custody, and got my other 2 back. Now, you tell me how I can raise 3, but I'm not good enough to raise the other one.
And you're seeing a lot of that, too. You're seeing a lot of that. I just heard that. We had someone the other day that they did the same thing. They pinned her up. They gave her the 2 back, and then they kept the 1. You know, like, I mean, I guess you got to do it. Like you said, what are you going to do? You know, like it's a shitty situation to be in all the way around. I mean, and you don't know how you're going to react. You don't know what you're going to do until you put into it. I used to always say, yeah, let them try to come take my kid, you know? And when it came time, I don't know, like you just fall short, I guess. You know, like you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know, and you can't let anybody tell you because you don't know what you're going to do. And it sucks.
And my lawyer even proved this social worker's whole testimony was impeached.
Right.
They knew she lied.
Right. They got a lot of money they put a lot of money into you. They're not going to lose it all. They need to recuperate their things some way, one way or another. And they
got my middle daughter.
Did your middle daughter come back now? Like, is she involved in your lives or is she gone?
Well, it's a kind of iffy situation because they lied to her. Okay.
Right.
But you can't undo a lie that's been told to you your whole life, and then
Right.
you're hearing me and your siblings tell you the truth,
Right.
but you can't hear it because this other story is just so horrible,
Right.
and they
Mhm.
just painted me out to be this horrible person, and
Yep.
her siblings were horrible. It was terrible. So
Yep.
she kind of talks to us, we don't push it.
Right. But she doesn't necessarily believe, or right. That sucks.
Right,
And that's what they
right.
do. That's what they do. They sit there and mommy and daddy don't want you anymore. They didn't,
Yep.
like they put this, and that's not right to do to a child either. That's just disgusting. They should all be in jail for child abuse and neglect themselves for doing what they do to kids. Period. I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And how I just don't understand. I don't understand how there's not more outrage. How everybody just is like a deaf ear. Like it's just how these Congress people aren't. Or the Senate, the state Senate people, are all of these people. At least the local town government seeing the pain that they're putting their people through. How are they not coming and standing up for these people and saying no?
Why?
We're not going to.
Why? You know why? Because one of the things that I want changed here, and I think if I can help get it changed here, we might be able to get it changed everywhere else. I
Uh-huh.
want the incentives to remove children out of the home. I want that gone. I want the incentives to keep the
Reunify.
children in the
Yes.
home.
Yeah. That's in the bill that we just wrote. Yep, absolutely. The bonuses for the adoptions and stuff are taken out, and the bonuses are for keeping the kids in the house and reunification. That's when you get your bonuses, not for anything else. No more, because people say, "Well, how do you say that they're not being paid to steal kids?" Listen, they're getting paid to adopt children out. The only way you're adopting a children is to take a child. Yes, they are getting paid to steal a child. It's simple as that. Like it's just that simple. And these people don't want to believe it. They don't want to hear it, but that's the truth. Like that's it. I mean, you can't adopt a kid unless you took a kid. It's not like this is at the drop off bank and, people are just dropping their kids off and then they're adopting them. They are going in looking for their clients. Like that's what they do. And until people can get that through their heads, it's gonna just continue and continue and continue. And as long as they're getting these bonus checks from the government that are paid for from the kids and all of that, it's just gonna keep going and going and going. But once middle class America starts getting affected, we'll see some difference, because now you're going to start hitting people that have a voice, and that like they're big people in these different corporations, or they're up, their status is a little bit better than where they're drawing from right now. Like right now they're in the up and comers and the people trying to start their lives and things like that. And but they're going to run out of kids. They're going to run out of kids. We're not pushing them out as many as they were before. People aren't even reproducing like they used to be. Um, so they're going to run out of their clients real quick, and it's going to have to start hitting the people that got the money,
Yeah.
and it should.
Somebody. So how do you get your rights back? Every state should have what's called a second chance law or a reinstatement of parental rights. I think Virginia's is called reinstatement of parental rights. Somebody's asking. I don't know what Maine's is. You have to look at your own state, but I
Yeah.
will tell you, from the day your termination starts, you have 24 months to appeal it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And don't
That's
ever
it.
sign them away, because I'm dealing with somebody here in my own city. She texts me. She's like, "Oh my God, they're trying to pressure me into signing over my parental rights." I said, "Absolutely not. If you do that, you cannot appeal it." And she did not do it. And now she's appealing it.
Man.
All because CPS lawyer doesn't think she can protect her child.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Who the fuck are you?
Right. You're God. They're 23 years old, 24 years old, fresh out of college, no kids in their life, never done anything. And they know that they're going to come and tell me that I'm on drugs, or you that you're on drugs. Really? Are you some sort of, drug, specialist or something? No, you're not. What's your degree in? Don't let them be that person. And we let them push us around. We let them dictate what we're going to say. I mean, they're very good at what they do. There's no doubt about that. They are very good. And the thing is they play on that fear. You'll do anything to get your kids back. So if they tell you to jump, how high? Sure, do it. But their intentions are never to give you your kid back. That's the thing. That's not in their in their vocabulary, not in their mindset. It's not in any of that. They're going for their bonus. That's a 23-year-old that wants a BMW, not drive around in an escort. They want to adopt your kid. That's their key to getting the BMW, you know, and that's it. And that's the way you have to treat all this. It's a business.
I was featured in an article in Virginia, because I work with a lawyer in Richmond, and she said, "Oh my God, Tiffany, will you please do this interview?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do it." So she used my very first words that I said to her, and my very first words were, "The system sets parents up to fail."
Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
I'll send you that article too. And
Yes.
everybody, all these people who I don't know who are involved in this system, they all agreed with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Makes you so angry. It just boils your blood. Day in and day out, I do this, because we do my show 5 days a week and I'm in this constantly. And it's so repetitive. Everybody's story is very similar. Everything is similar. The same mistakes are made, the same things. And it's just like boom, 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 boom. And it's like, man, someone just listen to what we're fucking saying and change it for once. Stand up to them when they walk to your door. Don't let them in. Don't give them tea. Don't let them look through your house. Do what the fuck we're saying. We're saying this because we know what we're saying. I wish I had someone like me and you and this I wish that I would have looked it up too, because I would have been like, whoa, everything would have been different. Everything would have been different, but it wasn't. So now here I am, and, I just hope even if one person listens, then that's at least something, I don't care, whatever. At least it's one person listens, good. They get to save themselves, and it's worth every bit of what we do. Um, because to have them gone, it's shit. It sucks,
It
every
does.
day.
And I'm 54. This happened 30 some years ago. I still mourn my daughter.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine. And it's got to be tough to have the other ones, because all that is show you the void that you're missing. Like the
Exactly.
holidays and everything. It's a constant reminder. Everything is a reminder. You probably still have pictures and everything else of them up and around and everything, like the things that
I
we have.
do.
It's just like if she's still here, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
just like it's a constant, and it sucks. It's hard, some days but you got to get up and you got to fight. You can't let them lay down and run you over. They can't let you push you back into your addictions. You can't let them push you back into the things that are going to make it less of you, because one day they are going to come back for you, and you need to, be able to save face. I guess you shouldn't have to, but you're going to have to, like you have to answer to them now. And that's the other thing, that's a sentence that you didn't ever ask for. That was never, like up until that point, our daughter had never left us before. Like she was never with us. She thought Disney. We were down there for COVID. We were stuck there, and then we were the only ones there. And like she had the whole resort to herself. So next time she goes to Disney, she's gonna be crushed. She thought that whole place was for her. Like that's the things that she ever did. But we were terrible. Like it's just. Yeah, it's just what they do to you, but you got to be able to get up and take the punches and fight back, because other people need you too. And I hate to put that burden onto you, but there are people that aren't strong enough to fight that need you, so you got to stand up and you got to, pull your shit together. And whether it's do this stuff, whether it's getting a hold of whatever, as long as you're doing something to help someone else. And that's what's important. Don't fall into the hands of, oh, well, they'll do it for me. Don't be that person, that's the way I feel anyway. Don't be the
Uh,
one to sit back and wait. Be the one to go there and help everybody else. Because if you've been doing this for 30 something years, you must be freaking exhausted. And
oh
for
my
real,
God.
like,
I wake up some days, this is no lie, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. And then I get a phone call,
yeah,
and it's just like the fire just reignites, and I'm like,
yep,
yes, let's spit this bitch up and
yep,
chew her up and spit her out.
yep. It is. It really is too. It's like, oh yeah, I got them now. We got them. We get them. Don't do it. But then it's so disheartening if they don't listen. You're like, God damn it. Like, why did you let them do this? Why did you listen? Maybe the
And
book
I
will be.
tell people, if you really want to win, you have to do and say everything I tell you to do and say.
Right. The
Because
only
if
person
you
who's supposed to be
don't,
trusted is you. Right. It's not going to work. Yep. You need to do everything The only person you're supposed to be trusting is people like us that are here to help you. You know, that's it. That's the only people you need to be trusted. Don't trust DHS. Don't trust your lawyer. Don't trust the judge. Don't trust your friend down the street. Trust those people that you're reaching out to that you've selected to help you, because those are the only people you can truly trust, because
Right.
everybody else got their hand in that money.
Yeah, everybody, right? And I see somebody that said that they were told that if the CPS worker wasn't allowed in the house, they were going to call the police. Let me tell you something. They brought the police with them here because they already knew it wasn't going down like they thought it was going down. You better bring the police with you,
Right.
and you better have a warrant because trust me, when I tell you that them motherfuckers are picking straws when they got to come to see Tiffany Wise, that is no joke.
I believe you. I believe that 1,000%. I've watched you long enough to know that. I'll be honest, I was nervous today just coming on. I was like, damn. I mean, I don't get nervous about nothing. I'm like, I don't know if you're going to tear me up or put,
Oh, I remember I came home for lunch, just left, came back from work. I had all these goddamn tow stickers on my car. I called the sheriff's department. I said, who the fuck was on my property? He's like, what's your address? I said, you know goddamn well what my fucking address is. So he goes, what did you call to say, Miss Wise? I said, I'm going to tell you, this is the last time I'm telling you. You better not step one more motherfucking foot on my property. I promise you that. Okay,
Right.
Miss Wise. No. This is private property. You don't
Yep.
have a warrant to serve. You don't have a summons. You better not step on my property.
Yeah, we got no trespassing signs all over the place. They stop at the end of the road. They walk up the driveway if they're coming on. You know, like they don't even
Hide
bring
their
their cars.
cars.
Yep.
They hide their cars down the street and walk up the street.
Yep. You know, recently they've been parking right outside of our driveway. And what's funny is Josie, the one that's on with me on Monday nights, the lady from Canada, they're now going after her father. I mean, this is a big deal what we do. People don't realize how dangerous it can be. Like, you know, how they put you at risk. Like they want to shut people like us up. That's what they're trying to do. They don't want us talking. They don't want us. And you know, I'm sure you've seen a hell of a lot more harassment than I have, but you get your share of it. And it's no joke.
Well, let me tell you how I got them to leave me alone. Besides my whole demeanor, because I
Right.
don't take shit off anybody, not even a judge. I don't give a fuck who you are. We are all
Right.
created equal, bitch. You might have a college degree, but that doesn't mean you're better than me.
Right.
I joined the NAACP,
Oh, damn! There it is, right there. Done.
and guess what? I'm the legal redress chair.
That's a great idea. I don't think I can do that, but can I be in the NAACP?
Yes. Pay
Oh,
your
wow.
little fee. Go on NAACP.org. Find your city and state. And if there's not one in your community, there's one in your or surrounding, because we do three counties.
Yeah.
And join, and then just talk to the president and tell him you like to sit on one of the committees.
That's a good idea.
I got my little card.
Yeah, whip that baby right out. That's better than the AARP card, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to court next week with my little card on, because I'm one of these people. See, they already don't like me.
Right.
Right. And I am so proud of that. I really am. I am just so proud of that, because that tells me that you're fucking scared of me.
Right.
But I sure am, and I'm going to try and go sit in some of these little courtrooms with my little tag on.
Yep. Wear the little tag. Make sure that they know who you are. Make sure that
They know who I am.
Right. I'm sure that they do. Absolutely. But, you know, like that's just it. And once they get nervous, when you got them on blast, they definitely get nervous when they know that you're paying attention to them, because it's a big deal if we catch them and they're doing these things wrong. And it might not be today or tomorrow, but it's going to be, they're all going to pay. They will all pay. Believe in me, they will all pay. It's just, you know, it's a matter of us getting there and getting them tripped up so that we can do what we have to do. You know, like that's it. And
And
just got to
everybody should be getting their file too, right? Like
right.
my daughter got her file because what happened was they thought I was lying, which I don't give a fuck. So they brought me in as a joiner. Oh, Miss Wise is hiding her child and her child's ward. Bitch, she doesn't live here. Anyway, so they brought me in as a joiner. So my daughter's case is this thick, mine's like this. So I pulled out this one piece of paper on the removal order. They checked, yes, that they had my grandson in physical custody, right? I said, oh, and the date was for the year that hadn't even happened yet. Okay,
Right.
that was the
Yep.
date. But anyway, so she's getting child support papers, right? They know she doesn't live here, but they send them here.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I can't tell you how I got into them, but I got into them. I photocopied them, I put them back in the mail, sent them to
Right.
her lawyer. They wrote a fucking grant for my grandson 2 days before the case was dismissed because they claimed that he was in physical custody, so they got money. So now the other part of my meeting with my delegate is Virginia Social Services, Frederick County Social Services needs to tell Virginia what they did with that money because they never took that child out of my daughter's care.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes. Wow.
Yeah.
And there's so much more of that going on. There's so much of that going on. So much. And
I even told the delegate, I said, this new generation is talking about receipts, and my son had to explain that shit to me. Right? I said, and trust me, I have the receipts to back up everything I'm saying.
right. Yeah. That's crazy.
So you need to pull your case. We recorded them. We have everything. This bitch called my daughter on the phone and said, you need to surrender your child tomorrow morning or else. Or else what, bitch? Or else what? Don't threaten my child because you got the right one. I'm that grandmother. Look, jail is kindergarten. I just said I was in the federal penitentiary. I was in Connecticut, Danbury, Connecticut.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
Jesus. Almighty.
Yeah. Don't come for mine unless you cross your T's and dot your I's because I'm that bitch. And that's what she said on the body cam video. Grandma won't let her talk. How old is she? Oh, she's about 30. Yeah. Because my daughter knows I'd have slapped her teeth right out of her mouth if she even opened her mouth.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Man.
I am
Yeah.
so aggressive that I'm surprised these people haven't placed a protective order on me.
For yourself, even.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's just. So where do we go from here? What do we do? What do we do? What can we do?
Well, I would like to talk to some of your lawmakers. If you can get one interested, like I said, my brother-in-law is a senator in Delaware, and now he's all up in this shit.
Right.
And I am working with the delegates in my area. I think my next one is a state senator.
Okay.
But not only do we need to change the state laws now,
Right.
not code statutes, because that shit is not fucking law. But we need to concentrate on the federal laws, and we need to give parents more federal protection.
Right. I agree 100%.
Because I don't know, I have a book called Behind the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
And in one of those chapters, it clearly states that the child-parent relationship, the child has the inherited right to have a relationship with the parents. And we need to get back to that.
Yep. Agreed. 1,000%.
Now, we will never, ever shut CPS down because there truly are kids out here that need help. And I get that. But what we can't do is keep praising these people for doing a job that they're really not doing, because they're not taking the children that are abused out of the home. I mean, seriously abused. We are
Right.
taking children on allegations, and because CPS workers don't like you, or judges don't like you, or you're, my favorite one is grandma's belligerent. Okay, that's me. That's what they call me. Grandma's belligerent. It
Well,
doesn't matter if I'm belligerent. If I
right.
wasn't belligerent, that
Then they
should
would
tell
be
you that I
okay.
don't care.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Part
100%.
of our inalienable rights is to be emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh my gosh, she's so emotional, she's unstable. I want to ask these people, do you even know what your fucking rights are?
Right. Yep.
So
That should
that's
ever.
where I'm heading.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think you should join your local NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to you after the show about that. And I'm going to tell you why
Yeah.
after the show. But if people file complaints with their local NAACP, this is what's going to happen. They have to investigate every complaint. Sorry, I'm down in my basement. If they get over 100 of the same complaints about the same people, then it goes up the chain to the state NAACP. They look at it. Then it goes to the national NAACP. And that's where we need them to start
Right.
getting involved with CPS, child support, and the courts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm in. I'm down with that. I'm absolutely down with that. Here they come. Um, yeah. I've never even thought of the NAACP before to do that, but I'm definitely willing to do that and get in on that. And I mean, they'll give you some power to back behind you. Because that's what we need. We need something to have to drive you up and to have some sort of something to make you worth them listening to, or whatever. So, yeah, I'm down with that.
Anything else you want to say before we end the show?
No, just keep on keeping on. Do what you got to do. Fight for your kids like you fought for no other. That's for damn sure.
Fight like your life depends on it, because it does. Not just yours, your whole family's.
That's the truth. Facts there.
All right, we're
Absolutely.
going to end the show. See you
All
later,
right. Thanks,
everybody. Stay
everyone.
on.
All right.